Corey Thompson with Above Board. And did you record in time
It's fine. Keep going.
with Above Board Dice Tower Dish? And what is this?
Oh, do not say it. You just say hello. I continue. All right, we're starting this again because I don't even know if I'm able to edit this, but fine.
Well, it
Just say
said
hello.
it's now recording halfway through my sentence.
Oh, my God. And this is Stephen Bonacore, the Podfather of Gaming, in this very professional recording of episode 326 on July 11th, 2024. Board Games Insider is proud to be powered by Board Game Geek. So let me tell you something, the two of you jamokes
What?
taking
I'm
over last
here.
week. Yeah, well, I'm just saying that
Say
you
this
and
to
that
my
other,
face. Say this to my
yeah,
face.
to your face, trying to take over last week. Did I give you permission to not record when I was
Best
available?
episode ever.
It was great, actually. I got a chance to listen to most of it today on the train from Florence, Italy to Rome, Italy. That's where I am right now, and that was, as I think you guys mentioned, the first episode of 325 episodes that Bonacore was not on the show. So very interesting. You guys did a great job, of course.
It's all Ignacy. He
All
took
right.
over
Well,
tech, he took over video. I just sat and commented.
and he has no skill whatsoever in technology, so that's very interesting that it even works. But and let's just mention also that he promised to be here today as well. And literally, as we're starting it up, he texts us and says, "I forgot my microphone and headset at home." Oh, oh, he's so
Uh,
pain. He's so painful. Anyway, we love him.
uh,
We love him. He'll be here next week. He promises again. In the meantime, Corey, for episode
yes.
325, what's going on with you these days?
I'll even tell you what's going on with episode 326.
326?
So
Oh, 326. Yes. This episode is
it has
so
been a
professional. So
very,
professional.
very interesting couple weeks. So
Ah,
I went to RageCon, which is an absolutely amazing local convention in the Reno area. Rage actually stands for Reno Area Game Expo. It was fantastic. All sorts of really well-known designers and friends that I don't get to see that often. I visited with Johnny Pack, Luke Laurie, Ben Maddox, who does 5 Games for Doomsday, Peter
he's
Vaughn,
so
who
funny.
owns Cardboard Alchemy, Teresa Duringer, so many
Oh,
friends.
Teresa was
And then
there.
as I woke up on Sunday morning, my back went out immediately and severely. And I was wheelchaired out of RageCon by my very good friend Kathleen Mercury, who I now owe more than anything. She managed to get me packed and in my car, where I took a therapy drive, which means
Wow.
tight car seat and very hot seat warmer, to Napa, which made my back feel good enough that I could move around. Then it got exciting again. Above Board finally made it to the Napa house. Crew of Travis and Leaf and Steve and Brian were at the house visiting, and we filmed the bee video.
That's amazing, dude.
I managed to be up and about and get to the shoot, and I played with bees. I held handfuls of bees. We were in a swarm of 120,000 bees.
What? Repeat that number. 120,000
120,000
bees.
bees, which by the way weighs 30 pounds.
That's amazing, dude.
And
That's
it was
absolutely.
incredible. I can't thank enough Norm Gary, who is the world expert on honeybees, has discovered more about bees than anybody else on earth. He's nearly 91 years old. He came to the shoot, visited, and was friendly and was teaching and was wrangling the bees. He could make these bees do anything. It was like magic. They were covering our actors, covering the board. We were playing Stonemeyer's apiary. It was incredible, an experience I will never duplicate. And an
I would have, and
experience
I
that
would have been there. I would have been there. except that I'm here in Europe.
I understand. Uh, it was amazing, and it ended with an experience I also do not want to replicate, where I was completely bedridden and could not move and had to be hospitalized
Oh,
for my back.
dude.
So that was fun. And spent July 4th in the hospital getting
Oh
loaded up
man.
on drugs and muscle relaxants. Was actually ambulanced back home because I could not sit, stand, walk, move. And my back did recover from there. So here I am now, a week later, exactly a week later. And I'm walking around. I'm sore, but I'm doing pretty good. Right now, what I'm aiming for is, if it continues to go well, if I continue to feel well, I got an opportunity to go to Comic-Con and visit with Daryl Andrews and Erica Bouyaris. I've been invited to industry tabletop groups run by Ross Thompson over at Comic-Con, and I have not been. This could be a very fun trip, but first and foremost, if it's going to do anything to my back, I'm going to have to skip
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
that's been the roller coaster of my week. Other than I woke up this morning at crack of dawn for some unknown reason, because all these Europeans are too fussy to
I,
record later in the day. So
and
I woke
and
up
it,
4 a.m. to
oh,
a very frightening critter sitting in my bathroom staring at me.
should I ask?
It may trigger you.
No, I don't. Then let's not. And make sure you get.
I've named him Randy.
No, please,
Um,
please, please get rid of him. I mean, I'm assuming I know what you're
he's
saying.
gone,
So,
and he's not what you think
oh,
he is.
oh, if it's not
So
a spider, I won't be triggered.
it was a scorpion.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. I mean, I've never seen a scorpion, so
I have
I
seen
would be
one now.
I would be freaked out by a scorpion,
Oh
but
no, I
it's
was
not as
fascinated, and I picked him up and scooped him up, and
it's
I think he's amazing. He's so cool looking.
wow. It's
But
not triggering to me like a spider would, like
okay,
a
it is
big spider would
not
be.
that. So
Yeah.
often
Okay.
those
Good.
two things cross. So
They
I
are similar species, yes, in some ways. I know that. All right. So I'm glad that you're doing better, my friend. And I know this happened obviously to you because we've been talking about it. It's why we missed. That is the main reason we missed last week. I had the
yeah,
ability to record last week, and Ignacy couldn't. But I wanted you to rest and do that. So thank you
I
for
could not
getting
do
up.
anything last week. And thanks
Yeah.
to literally hundreds of people who reached out to me on Facebook. And in addition, so many people actually came to the house, and I was mothered by an absolute team of people yelling at me to use a walker and don't do
Right.
anything.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and thank you for the efforts here to be up at the time when I thought Ignacy would be here, which is we're doing this at
Honestly, I was up
3 p.m.
anyway.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I don't know how you need rest. You rest. All right. Let's talk a little bit and then we'll move on because we have a lot of news to catch up
Oh, I
on, but
know.
a little bit here on this epic 3 week, just short like a day or two of European trip. We spent 4 nights in Barcelona. What a wonderful city that was. Went to see a flamenco dance. Just literally like went all over the city. Great city to walk around in. Uh, my, Montserrat is an amazing place outside the city. Beautiful. We then got on BGG at sea 7 nights and went to Mallorca and then Florence, Rome, and Naples, back to Barcelona, and then flew back to Italy to spend an extra 8 days because I figured I was here and I hadn't been to Italy, including my hometown where my family was originally from. Haven't been here in 46 years. So
Wow.
and I
So you were like
literally
in your 30s last time you came.
thank you. That's very sweet of you. That I was about 16 or 17 the last time I was in Italy. So it's been really absolutely amazing to see this history. You know, we literally got to Rome an hour ago, and I scheduled to do this with you, and we were in Florence for the last 4 nights. And it's like, oh, here's just another 500-year-old building. Oh, look, here's a 1,000-year. Oh, no, here's a 2,200-year-old building. It's like it's just unbelievable the history there and the beauty of these ancient cities. So I really fell in love with Florence, and I believe I will do the same here in Rome because we have another 4 nights of here packed with things to do. Tomorrow is the Colosseum and the Roman Forum, so it's just crazy. After this, we fly out of here on Monday. 4 nights from now, as I mentioned, I have a buddies trip to do. Like a 4 night trip with my oldest friends in the world. We get together, we do a little gaming because they're not huge gamers, but we jam, we play music and listen to music and maybe drink too much and things like that for 4 nights. So that's gonna be fun. And then the following week, I go directly from there. By the way, after being home for 2 nights back in Florida from this trip, I go to the buddies trip. Then I do the WBC in Seven Springs, Pennsylvania, with Chad. You know Chad, one of
Mm-hmm.
my oldest real gaming friends from New Jersey. He picks me up and we go there. Normally there's 3 of us that go, but the other guy can't go. So the 2 of us are going to be doing War of the Ring, doing War for Arrakis, um, Star Wars Rebellion. He's promised to teach me that, so I'll get that one under my belt as well. All these amazing like 2 player, American style games. Can't wait. And then directly from there, Gen Con for a week. I'll be there early and I'll be there for a week. I know you're not going. We're gonna really miss you there, man. So, but you rest up, get better.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to give a two quick little shout outs. One is to our good buddy Uli Blenneman, Spielworks. He's got right now on GameFound.com his project for Epos and Genties. So
Epos is the sequel to Gentees, right?
right, and I think
And
right,
man, I love Gentees. Such a good game.
such a good game. And I believe you can. I believe it's either just Epos or you can get both games there. But
Yeah.
check out. I mean, he's just such a great guy. He's going to be at Gen Con. I'm going to be hanging out with him a little bit there. But literally one of the nicest people in the industry. A pleasure to
Yes.
hang out with. He drinks really cheap prosecco is like his thing, which makes me nauseous when I see him drinking that as a fine German. But he'll have a
Oh
beer with me
man.
occasionally. So we'll be at the Yard House without a doubt on Friday for lunch. If anybody's going to be there, you can check us out. Check out on GameFound.com Epos and Genties. It's a Genties game, a Genties game. That's what it is. And quickly, Play the Z, the Kickstarter for 23 Knives has just been moved 1 month back. So that's going to now start on August 22nd. So keep that in mind.
My
We don't have
birthday.
oh, that's nice. We don't have a splash page for that yet, but stay tuned. We'll certainly let you know. And you can follow, of course, Play2Z, and you'll find out when it is up there. A social manipulation game. So even if you don't like social deduction, it's not that. Social manipulation. Wait for that. And now let's get to the event deck. All right. So we've got a couple of Embracer stories here, and there's no links to them because I get like press releases directly from Embracer because I'm an investor and anybody can get these even if you're not an
Because
investor.
you're
Um,
special.
yeah, I'm special. All right. So the Embracer Group repaid 300 million US dollars equivalent on its revolving credit facility. They notified their lenders that in accordance with the plan to repay the 300 million of its revolving credit with a maturity date of May 2025, they have taken care of that. That repayment is made by the net proceeds already received from the recent sale of Take-Two Interactive Software.
Yeah. Let's
So that
just as a reminder, Embracer Group is currently almost $2 billion in debt because of things and
various things, including too many acquisitions, but well, it's hard
too
to
much
say too many.
spending on anticipation of speculated income.
Of speculated additional investment is a good way of putting it. We've
Yes.
reported a lot that the Saudi group, which was supposed to come in with $2 billion, nixed the deal about a year ago. And that has caused some turmoil within Embracer Group, which of course trickles down to Asmodee, which is wholly owned by Embracer Group. Now, in lockstep with what I just said, literally today, minutes before I got on this podcast, Embracer Group secured a new 600 million euro revolving credit with a 2-year tenor timeframe and an option to extend an additional year. Now, you might say, well, debt. Don't worry. Nobody lends money without believing they're going to get paid back. So a total of 7 banks from Europe and North America have participated in this revolving credit transaction for the Embracer Group. And they include some of the biggest banks in the world.
Yeah.
Ones you're going to notice as soon as they say it. SEB, that's just a local Swedish bank. But Bank Paribas, BNP Paribas, Citibank, their London branch, DNB Bank, JP Morgan. So all of these banks are part of this 420 million euros. So that's about, let's call it 460 or so million US dollars to be used by Embracer Group over time as their revolving credit. Very, very, very common for companies, big companies, to have a revolving line of credit. None of this is a bad thing. In fact, this is all a good thing. Anybody who said, well, Asmodee is in trouble, Embracer is in trouble, and therefore Asmodee could be in trouble, I believe all of what I just said actually bodes very well for them to come out of their large amount of debt in a very good way.
It certainly shows a lot of faith in Asmodee because, 1, Embracer put all the debt onto Asmodee, and 2, banks are so willing to give credit to Asmodee.
Right. And that transaction that you're implying, where Embracer Group is splitting into 3 separate companies, with Asmodee being a standalone publicly traded company, you're going to be able to soon invest only in Asmodee. And then there's going to be the Middle-earth Enterprises Group with some other companies. And then there's going to be all their electronic gaming stuff as a third company. So as an investor, and Dark Horse. Dark Horse is in that third pile, I think. As an investor, and anybody here listening to my voice can become an investor. I am not your financial advisor, so I'm not advising you to do so. But you can go
is my financial advisor.
You could go and actually trade and buy Embracer stock, which will then become 3 separate stocks that you'll end up owning, which in aggregate should be the same price as the one stock when that transaction finishes. Okay, let's move on to some great things that I was hoping good old Ignacy would be here for, and that is that
GAMA news.
GAMA has released the numbers for the Origins.
Yep.
Show.
For the 2024 Origins Game Fair.
Go ahead. I talked a lot. Why don't you go for this?
Origins, it felt like a big show. I was there. It was really fun, had a good time. And it turns out it was a big show. There were 17,706 attendees to Origins 2024, which is almost a 10% increase from 2023. Now, the caveat is this is not quite as big as pre-pandemic. The biggest one was 2019, right before the pandemic really hit, where Origins drew over 20,000 people. So event totals were up about 6%, and GAMA also raised some good money for charity and raised a bunch of blood drive. So good news for Origins that they're continuing to get bigger and bigger.
Now, I mean, it really bodes well for them. We really need that other kind of big show in the U.S. So, Gen Con gets all of the big press, so to speak, these days. So to see them coming back is kind of a really cool thing. I was there, of course, too, as a special guest.
You were a very special guest.
I was, and it was great to see the enthusiasm that was there, as well as to see and to be part of the actual internal affairs of the whole thing, hosting the Origins Awards, hosting that 50th anniversary panel with Luke Gygax and all these luminaries from the
Oh, that is
beginning
so cool.
of D&D. So that was really great. So more news from GAMA, and
Yeah.
this again was at the Origins Awards. This is part of it that I did not present this part of the awards. I present the gaming awards, but the Academy of Adventure Gaming Arts and Design inducted 5 new people into the Hall of Fame. And this was wonderful to see. Some of these were people who had passed away, so they were posthumously awarded, inducted into the Hall of Fame. But of particular note, good friend of both Corey and mine, Matt Leacock, was designer of
Yeah.
Pandemic, Forbidden Island, Forbidden Desert, co-designer of Ticket to Ride Legacy. He was inducted, and he gave a little speech there, and you could just tell he
And
was,
well deserved. Matt is such a
yeah,
nice guy and such a talented designer.
really, really, and he was so humble about it. You can just see that he was just happy to be there and doing that. So very, very, very cool. All right, Corey. We also have the Gamma has opened up
The
their
Horizons Fellowship.
the Horizon Fellowship. Why don't you tell us
So
about this, Corey?
the Horizon Fellowship's been going on for a few years, and this is a fellowship and grant, $1,000 for people who want to get into game design. So applications have opened up for the 2024 Horizon Fellowship. This is out of ICV2, and I should say all of these Gamma news articles are from ICV2. The Horizons Fellowship Program is an accelerator fund earmarked for underrepresented communities in the games industry that was established in 2021. It's open to businesses that are at least 51% owned and or operated by members of historically underrepresented communities. And they can apply in different categories: publishers who are creating a new game, new publishers, prospective retailers, and newly established retailers. Applicants who are selected for the fellowship will get a 1-year complimentary membership in GAMA. We'll get a $1,000 grant for business and operating expenses, travel stipends and lodgings for GAMA Expo 2025 and Origins Game Fair that year, booth opportunities, complimentary retailer boxes, and virtual classes. So it's free to apply, but you have to apply now. So participation for the 2024-2025 is limited to US and Canada.
It's really great that they're able to run such a grant like this. This is kind of time when I love Ignacio to be here so we can say, look, they do some really, really good things.
Now,
So
I want to put out a little personal note here that I was pretty much in the same boat as Ignacy of having very low expectations for GAMA. I've seen a lot of things not go right for GAMA. However, I'm going to say just within the last 6 months, and primarily by speaking to the new GAMA president, Nicole Brady,
yeah,
I have high hopes for GAMA. I think this is a new GAMA. I think really good things are happening, and this is big for me to say. I tend to be quiet, but I've not had the greatest opinion of GAMA for a while. But now my mind has been changed. Nicole's pretty amazing.
Nicole is absolutely amazing. So, and as well as all of the board members, the 4 executive board members, all being women, as we've reported on here. So really excited to see the various changes that they will be making, and the great work that they're going to be doing, without a doubt. I'm having a little trouble opening links here, but I think I've just figured out how to open the next one. So I'm on my
You need me
iPad,
to take
guys.
care of you there, Stephen?
I know it's very hard. So the next one is interesting. It's changes that are going to be happening for the UKGE in 2025. Now the UKGE just ended in June. It was
Sure.
record attendance. It's the second largest game convention in Europe. Probably third in the world, second in the world, something.
Oh,
It's
it's
really
huge.
close with PAX. It's tremendous and great. So they're saying they're making some changes. For the next, this by the way comes from madmimi.com. I love it. It says for the next 2 years, we will not have access to Hall 1 at the NEC. With that in mind, we have been able to secure Halls 2, 3, 3A, and 4 for the foreseeable future. And what does this mean? This ensures the show is growing and certainly not shrinking. The halls will represent a 11,000 square meter growth in space, or an increase of 30%. Trade space is increased with over 5,000 square meters in growth, or 20% more. So good news. It's just going to be different halls. Hall one was that big hall that was sort of right there in the front, and now they're just getting a bunch of smaller ones, which add up to 30%
More
more anyway.
space.
So this is good
Fantastic. We've
news
always
in
known,
general.
yeah, UKGE's been growing like crazy, and I think it's going to start competing with the really big boys real soon, if not already.
I
So
think it
it's going
is.
to
I mean,
be probably Essen Gen Con UKGE.
PAX Unplugged, my friend, is
It's still going to
coming.
be there, but I might predict that UKGE gets a little bigger than PAX Unplugged.
Could happen. Could happen. So what do we have here? We have something from Barnes and Noble. We don't, talk about them much these days. They've,
Yeah, but Barnes and Noble
they're.
is one of our bigger board game sources now. They have
Mhm.
dedicated buyers and dedicated sourcing people who go to all the major conventions and get games just for Barnes and Noble. Certainly up there with Walmart, Target. So
Mhm.
Barnes and Noble has bought a pretty large bookstore chain called Tattered Cover. So this is just showing that Barnes and Noble is doing well and they're expanding and it's going to be more board game space. So Barnes and Noble has agreed to pay 1.83 million for the assets of the Tattered Cover chain and plans to continue to operate all of the stores and retain most of the employees. So just
Very.
a nice news for Barnes and Noble.
That is cool. And like you said, they really are one of those big box retailers, but they have in their stores some more serious games than the Targets and the Walmarts do.
That's true.
They really have our games in there, and in decent quantities too. So kudos for them for seeming to do pretty good here. Now, the next one here is our good friends at Games Workshop, who make Warhammer, of course. They're building a new factory in Nottingham as part of a huge expansion plan. Did you put
Yeah.
this one in here, Corey?
I think Ignacy actually put that one in.
Of course, he found it in the NottinghamPost.com. We'll credit them on this. Warhammer gaming giant Games Workshop wants to build a new Nottingham factory as it plots years of expansion to keep up with booming consumer demand. The company behind the phenomenon Warhammer Miniatures has unveiled plans to build a new manufacturing facility to continue its impressive growth. The globally dominant tabletop firm, which made 94.5 million pounds, British pounds in profit, which is, I don't know, let's call that $150 million, something in that range.
In
In the
6 months.
in 6 months, says it will be investing to grow its complex in Willow Road, Lenton over the next several years. More than 350 staff currently work around the clock at the site's 3 existing factories to produce millions of popular figures, but that is now not enough to meet demand. Amazing, amazing, amazing stuff
Absolutely incredible. Certainly Warhammer, the biggest miniatures game in our little nerdverse.
in our little nerd verse. Isn't that awesome? So, what do we have here about Modiphius Entertainment? They're acquiring a company.
Yeah, Modiphius is making some moves. So this is from ICD2. Modiphius Entertainment has acquired Strato Minis Studio, which is a Polish miniatures company. Strato Minis Studio manufactures resin miniatures and makes Hard War, Retrobots, and Strata Voyager games, and several other miniature lines. The deal includes Modiphius assuming control of future development of these titles, and they plan to relaunch Hard War, which is a 6 mm scale miniatures range and game that revolves around sci-fi mech armor and aerial combat. So this is
Six
another Ignacy
millimeter.
story. This is Polish story, Slavic news, as he would say.
As you would
But
say, but we've
Modiphius has been
reported,
making some moves.
yeah, we've reported recently about other moves that they've made. So
There's
it's pretty
music
pretty
all of
big.
a sudden.
You hear music from me?
I hear music on your feed. I don't know where it came from.
I have no music being played here, sir. I don't know why that would have happened.
I got it.
Paula's not Paula, the lovely Paula is right here. You don't hear it anymore, I hope.
Nope, I killed it.
It's probably on your side. Don't blame me
I think
for
it
your
was you.
problems. All right, then. Fine, fine.
So
So
this
what do we have
next
here?
story, yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
find this really interesting. Out of Polygon, Mattel plans to make 80% of their games catalog colorblind accessible by the end of 2024. And
That's really
I
cool.
I have some issues with color. I can usually get by pretty well, but I really appreciate all of these classic games now putting in really interesting methods for colorblind accessibility. And this includes Uno, the 400 different versions of Uno that are out there, Locus, Skipbo, Phase 10. I mean, we poo-poo on these games sometimes, but these are really important games to the industry, really important entry-level games, apples to apples. And they're doing it with a combination of textures, symbols. It's really clever how they're doing some of it. Like in Blocus, which has the colored acrylic tiles, they're putting different shaped textures on the top of the different colors of the Blocus.
Oh, I'm looking at the picture here on
They're
polysapolygon.com
doing
if you
it
didn't mention it.
really well. It's really
Yeah,
cool.
the colors will remain the same. Those beautiful,
Right.
vibrant blue, red, yellow, green colors, which I love. By the way, Locust is still a great game. Locust Trigon. I think that's still you might call them mass, but they're cool abstract games.
Oh
Love
yeah,
that.
it's a
Cut my
mass
teeth.
abstract.
Yeah, I cut my teeth on those games back like early on in my board gaming life. I can see that they're putting these, like you said, textures or additional shapes on top of the shapes that will kind of look so really cool, I think. So yeah, I mean that's pretty neat. Kudos to them
Yeah,
on
good
that.
move by Mattel.
Yes,
Um,
indeed.
the next one, I've been following this story for a little while. So Petersen Games, which is a company run by Sandy Petersen, who's kind of known as the expert in the Cthulhu mythos. He knows more about Cthulhu and this Lovecraftian world than anybody else. Famous for the board game Cthulhu Wars, which is remarkably popular, really hard to get, and seems to they're unable to keep it in print. Petersen Games has had money issues for quite a while. And in fact, they declared a form of stalling or bankruptcy several years ago, where they said they have a number of Kickstarter projects that they're trying to get out, but they're focusing on only working on one at a time. And it was going to be a huge delay because they were pretty much working hand to mouth.
Yeah.
But now the news is that the Petersen Games has been bailed out by a newly launched US board game maker, Quimbley's Toys and Games. So all the news sounds like an acquisition. Petersen Games will cease to be a publisher and manufacturer of games following this deal, instead transitioning into solely a design studio. And this is probably a very good move. Petersen makes very good games. Cthulhu Wars, especially, and there's other versions of Cthulhu Wars. There was an Evil Princess game. There's Hyperspace we're waiting for, Glorantha. Um, there's just so many nice games that we've not had an opportunity to play with because they're having trouble with the manufacturing, logistics, and publishing side. So now they have a publisher. So good job for Petersen. I'm expecting all these nice games to come out
Yeah.
from Quimbley.
Yeah, so it's funny. I don't know Quimbley Games. I mean, I
They're
just
brand
took
new.
a quick. Oh, well, yeah, they are brand new. So somebody created a company just to do this to basically take over some of the manufacturing from Petersen Games. Very interesting. And I looked up some of the other things they're doing. It's By the way, this is from both BoardGameWire.com, our good friends over there, and ICV2.com. In addition to its relationship with Petersen's Games, Quimbley's also plans to release multiple new games and merchandise based on the paintings of Frank Frazetta and has
Awesome.
distributed the Frazetta tarot card in this article as a teaser. They're showing a card in the ICV2 article here. The company also has an agreement to release products based on the science fiction books of artist and author Stephen Heumann. So very interesting. I mean, Frazetta's stuff, by the way. I mean, if they have the rights to use Frazetta's art in games, that to me is used. Frazetta is literally, if not,
Yeah,
he's in the top 5 greatest fantasy artists of all time, without a doubt.
absolutely.
Death Dealer being his most iconic piece. It's the
Fire and Ice,
barbarian.
man.
Yes, I mean he's got so many great pieces, but yeah, unbelievable. This is very cool news in general. That first Petersen Games gets kind of bailed out. Quimbley Toys is doing a bunch of different things. We've gone through heavily to try to get all of the news stories done. Are you drawing a line here? You're going to draw a line here, and we're going to go
I
on. We have one
am. We
more.
can save a
Okay.
news story. We're running a
All
little
right.
late.
We are definitely running late. We're going to save one for next week. But we will skip strategy and tactics this week. Sorry for those who love to get the questions answered, but we needed to get through all of those news stories. Let's get over right now to play testing. All right, Dr. Thompson, as usual, you have always come up with the best questions for us. I noticed you guys were reveling in how wonderful your this guy Corey is doing all of the
he does the
doing all these
best questions.
The best questions.
It's almost like he's weeks and weeks ahead on questions.
Yeah, weeks and weeks ahead. He's absolutely weeks and weeks ahead. So
because nobody else does it.
So you we had a lot of responses to the last week's question. Why don't you read the question that we posted there?
So last week's question is, if you had infinite resources, what single game title would you just give to everyone who visited you, just to show off the hobby, to show how amazing the board gaming hobby is?
And I'll let me go because I didn't answer it when you guys answered it last week. My answer would have been Foundations of Rome in its full glory edition, right? Which is whatever that comes out to, $180 game with you.
Yeah.
It's so good, but it's also so simple, really, that is a gateway game in a lot of regard. If
it
you're playing
sets
none of the
itself
expansions,
up, it plays itself, it's amazing.
It's so good and it looks so good. And if you had infinite resources, you could just hand it to people who were like, well, what do you guys do? What is this hobby gaming about? Play this with me and I will show you. And Marshall S, who answered this question, he said Foundations of Rome, Sundrop edition. So everyone we've shown it to has loved it. It's simple to play and has tremendous table presence. Over $400 is expensive, but there's no budget, right? I don't think it's quite $400 for that whole set. I thought it was closer to 200, but the point is, yeah, that would have been the game I picked. So
it is amazing.
Anybody, any ones that are striking your fancy there?
So I kind of do this on occasion. I will find a game that I really like and I'll evangelize it, and I'll have at any given time 20, 30 copies of it at the house to give away to anybody. Currently, my favorite is Expressions, and I think we've talked about it a bunch of times, from Barnmade Games and Isaac Myers. Wonderful deduction cooperative card game. My favorite answer is Parks, and this is from Jacob Stein. He says, Parks. I think it's the epitome of the modern board game hobby in a reasonable box. Art, bits, play, and storage. Play is deep enough, but not overwhelming. Art is really great. All the fun wooden bits is nice, and storage in the box is excellent. It has expansions that'll let it grow game after having the base game given as a gift. And just a personal note, Henry Audubon, the designer of Parks, one of the smartest, nicest guys I know. So absolutely. I agree. Parks is a fantastic entry-level game, which actually brings me to another answer from our buddy, and I can't find it, William Bricker.
Bill Bricker, the famous artist, Bill Bricker. He's a fan of the show. He's a fan of ours.
Bill Bricker actually directly addressed some of what I'm saying here. He says, I think this question's deceptive. Nowhere does it mention that the visitors are new to the board gaming hobby. 99% of people that visit me are already in the board game hobby. Why would I give them a gateway game? Actually, most of them already own the gateway games that I would recommend. No, I'll keep the gateway games for people I visit, and I'll gift all of my visitors something I love and want to share.
It's very
So
nice.
it's a good point, and
Yeah,
it's a
but I
weird
was
question. It's in between gateway and favorite game and all that
yeah
mixed together.
yeah, but I took it as I think what your intention was to if you were going to show people what we love in this hobby, what would be the one game? So
Absolutely.
Bill, you're so pedantic. By the way, Bill Bricker, the biggest fan of Frank Frazetta. So when he hears that there's going to be games and cards and this and that based on Frazetta's art, he's going to go ape crap and he's going to be buying a lot of stuff. So thanks, Bill, for that. Peter Tierney said Foundations of Rome. Obviously, it's the perfect answer.
I think it's the
And
most popular game in the list.
it's up there, but we got a couple here. Evan Halbert, he said Ticket to Ride, as well as I saw another Greg Senko, good
A
friend Greg
classic.
Senko says Ticket to Ride, which are fantastic. I mean, it is even simpler, of course, than Foundations of Rome, and it's a great game to simply give as a gift to people like on that edge.
Yeah.
Like, can we make them a gamer? And
And
we were in the lovely Paula is sitting next to me, even though nobody can see her. We were in Florence and we met two people who were on tour with us. And I told them what I do, what I did, publish. And somebody said, well, what kind of games? I'm like, well, you probably wouldn't know them. I said, you play games. And she said, well, yeah, I play this thing called Ticket to Ride. I'm like, you're one of us. There you go. So immediately we started talking, and she had played Catan and she had played. So she was right there. It's gonna get her over the edge, to
that's
some of the other
amazing.
ones too. Right. So this is a great question that you came up with, and we had a lot of great answers here. Tell me, what is the question that you have for this week?
Oh, I'm out of questions.
No, you're not. I put
Nah,
it
I've
right
got
there.
okay. I just have to read it off the screen because I don't want to
That's all
do
you
any
got to do.
thinking or anything.
Don't got to do anything. You read that.
Okay, will do. And you highlighted it for me and everything.
Well, I copied and pasted it so I could go post it on Board Game Geek because obviously
So,
you wouldn't do this. So go ahead.
no, I don't know how to use computers.
That's right.
What older title, let's say more than 20 years old, would you say is due for a major update or second edition? There's been a whole slew of updated second edition, expanded deluxe edition games out there. What one do you think is overdue?
It's funny because I read this because I put it as the next question. You created the question, but then I put it there as the next question. And at first I couldn't think of one. And then I did think of it, and now I forgot what it was. So tell me what tell me what yours is, and hopefully by the time you say it, I'll be able to figure out what I was gonna say.
I would love to see a new, fancy, bigger edition of Dungeon from TSR. There was kind
Really?
of a new edition that happened 5 years ago, but it was almost the same game. So I would like to see a big, shiny, fancy dungeon. I love your classic dungeon crawl tabletop. Um, so I would say dungeon. If you want to get more obscure, probably better than dungeon, I would go with Dungeon Run from Plaid Hat. That was a fantastic dungeon crawl game. But I would like an old style dungeon crawl.
God, I wish I had remembered. I wish I could remember what I had because I had a good one that was in my head on the train on the way here. Um, I was thinking at first, I remember thinking like some of those classic Milton Bradley games, but they're really a little
Oh
too
yeah.
old school, like King Oil
Careers.
and
Careers was great.
Careers. I don't remember, but like
Uh,
King Oil, I love. I still have my
oh, with the
copy.
little drop down.
Yes, I love that.
Oh, that was a
I
good
love that
one.
idea. But yeah, and people have riffed on that in a more modern game. I'm gonna hold off giving my answer until we do this and we read out users'
It'll
answers next
be
week, and then I'll give,
brilliant.
and then it'll be a brilliant answer, I
It
guarantee.
will. It will.
Uh, so right now, I am typing in or copying in the question for everybody to answer there in our guild on Board Game Geek. So if you'd like
Fantastic.
to answer this question that we have just asked, please go over to the guild on Board Game Geek. I know you can find it. You guys are so smart. You can find it and answer it. Of course, now I'm supposed to copy the link for us for next week. Copy, Corey. I need to have a computer here instead of doing this like on this iPad. It's really hard, but I got it done.
You're so good.
I know. Let's get over now
Overcoming
too.
adversity.
It's a tough life. It really is. Being here in Rome, Paula, right here next to me. Paula, should I put you on camera? No. She's like, no. Paula is
That's
Ms.
It. She's not real.
Ms.
There's no proof.
Paula's Ms. Back of house. She was a stage manager. She likes the back. Doesn't want to be on the stage. Doesn't want to be in front of people. Ms. Back of house right here. Baby's got back of house. Anyway, let's get to the final scoring. Yeah, I'm sure she liked that joke. She's going to punch me.
No, she did not.
Thank you so much for listening and help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts or watch Board Games Insider on the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. You want to be part of this podcast? We want you to be. Go over to our guild and we will take your questions for strategy and tactics in the correct thread there, or you can answer our question to you from playtesting by going to the guild and looking for the thread with this week's question. Check out the websites, portalgamesus.com, podfathergaming.com, dicetowerdish.com, playtozgames.com. On Facebook, please like our pages, which are Board Games Insider, Portal Games US, Podfather Gaming, and Play to Z Games, and speak directly with Ignacy, Corey, and Steven on X or Twitter, whatever you like to call it, and Instagram at Portal Games US, at Podfather Gaming, at Dice Tower Dish, and those great YouTube channels are Portal Games Studio, the Podfather of Gaming, and Above Board TV. Ignacy can be found on TikTok, Portal Games US. If you see me at a convention, or Corey, or that rare Ignacy appearance, please come up and talk to us. Tell us what you think about the show. Smack me in the head if you don't like it. Whatever you want to do. We really love interacting with all you guys out there. So if you happen to be at the WBC when that's happening in about a week or so from now, I'll see you there. At Gen Con, I'll see you there. But sadly, Corey's not going to be at another con for a little while. So maybe if you see him at Comic-Con San Diego.
Maybe Comic-Con if I'm doing well enough.
That's right. Hopefully you'll see him there. And of course, Board Games Insider, professionally edited by Joshua Bowman from Tabletop Submarine Podcast. If you want your podcast edited by Joshua, reach out to him at tabletopsubmarine@gmail.com. Also, that great voice you hear doing the intro, the outro, and in between segments is that of Ray Greenlee. He can be contacted to do voiceover work for you at raygreenleevoiceover.com. And that brings us to another end of amazing episode. Maybe Ignacy won't disappoint us next week. We'll see what happens. Corey, feel better, my friend.
Disappoints me.
Feel better, buddy. I mean, I really feel terrible that you're suffering so much.
Million times better than I was, which is more a statement of how bad I was than how good I am now.
But take care of yourself, and everybody out there, take care of yourself as well, and we'll see you in a week.
And enjoy Rome, enjoy Italy.
Thank you, buddy.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.